Welcome back to a new cast game. This time we have a silver match for you guys. Here on the top, on the north side, we have Jvern in the color orange playing as the English. And on the south side we have FlowingThor. Apparently I'm just pronouncing things weird. Like Nim is just laughing here on the side. In the color teal playing as Japanese. My name is Trui and with me is Nim.
Hi. every time we cast a match, prior to us casting the match, right? We look at the names and we go over, hey, how should we pronounce these names? How should we announce these people?
Jvern.
And that is not what we settled on.
What was it?
Like it happened all of 2 seconds before she said the name, and she's already we've already lost. We said Jvern.
Oh, Jvern.
Because I'm thinking it's a reference to Julius Verne, the author.
I don't know that. Like I know anything about books.
You're probably familiar with like Journey to the Center of the Earth and works like that.
No.
No.
Never heard of it.
Anyway, that's I'm thinking.
I've got dyslexia.
It was related to that, Julius Verne. Also, it's a day later now, and she got me some tea. It's not really a day later.
No, it's a day later.
It's a day later. This was recorded a day later, but I did get some tea. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So if you hear the spoons, like.
I could have just gone up myself, but she did offer to do it, and that was like, it's kind of like you gotta let your partner do things for you sometimes, because it's kind of romantic when they want to do, like, they want to put in some effort for you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that should be one-sided, for the record.
Before we get like
my thumbs are bloody and broken right now because I put some effort in for her as well. So
that sounds like I'm like torturing you.
Oh yeah, no, okay.
I was replacing my power supply in my computer, and for some reason it didn't want to start, and the cable, I couldn't get the cables in properly, and then Nim helped me try to like get them out and in, and eventually we just replaced the cable, and maybe the cable was broken or something like that. It wasn't working, and we don't know why. But
we had to put them in like 5 times, and it's like these cables, these power cables in your PC, like they're the most. It's like you. I think most of you probably know the sensation of stepping on a Lego brick, right?
Yeah.
It's like that, but for your hands, and it's awful, right? Yep. And you gotta put pressure on it, because you gotta get these connectors flush with their ports, right? And it's my hands hurt so much, but it's I did get some tea, right? And then she did tell me that she appreciated it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, 3 minutes further in the game, what have we see? A lot of people say like the first 3 minutes are the most boring. So hey, here you go. You know a little bit more about us.
Okay. No, I think at this point, honestly, we should be close to aging up.
So what I see here is the English player has made a house right against the town center, and I think this is not a great spot, because like this is prime real estate for some farms, right?
Yeah, you could definitely put farms in the back. That's typically where you want them as any civilization. But farms in the back, like having one over here, having a field over here, that's really what you want. Oh no, Vern is not actually rallying out his villagers anywhere, is he? So every time a villager comes out here, they're not automatically being put to work. You're making it very hard on yourself if you do this, because every time a villager comes out, and that's every 20 seconds, right? You're gonna have to assign him a job. Whereas you could just as well use the rally point, or just right click on any resource here, like on the sheep.
After you click on the town center, right?
Yeah, after you've clicked on the town center. So we do this, and then we can just like right click on the wood, and then every villager is gonna go directly to that wood. At least they're already doing something right away.
And you cannot keep this up later.
You cannot keep this up.
Yep. Another house is being built right there underneath the town center, which, again, like you want some farms at that spot, so build them a little bit further away. I usually build the first one next to my gold as the English, because the gold villager is making my first house, and then they're gonna start going on the gold. It will be a bit far out, but at that point, they won't be arresting you yet, right? So it is alright. And if the house gets burned down, it's not that big of a deal. the council hall is coming up, and here on this side, for the Japanese, we have the Kura storehouse coming up.
Yeah, this outpost is quite far back, honestly. I'm not sure if that would really, especially against the English, it really wouldn't deter any longbowmen from really harassing your villages here.
Yep.
This might, but I would even like put it a little further if you could. Because the longbowman, so an English longbowman has 7 tiles of range. Now, it's hard to really see, but I'm pretty sure like around this length, right, they could probably still shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they could just walk around here and harass these villagers. And that's definitely what you should be doing if you're playing the English, which I think many of you are. Like I've looked at the stats. Even at the highest level, English is still the most played faction, right?
Yeah. I like the council hall placement. Seems fine. I usually put it like right here. This is my ideal placement, but this is like
no, it's fine. It's underneath the TC. I think we've gone a bit into why you place your first landmark typically close to your TC, not that far away. Definitely have those villages under the cover of it, especially if the building itself is like military production, like council hall or like royal stables or things like that. You just want to close because you want those units to be safe if you're being pressed. Actually, a lot of upgrades coming through. Already picking up textiles, which I think is probably a mistake. I like that Vern is picking up all these
textiles
texts.
coming. Oh yeah.
These texts already. But textiles is probably textiles increases the HP of your villagers, and it is a good tech. I think far too few people use it appropriately. But when you're like being harassed, especially so by say cavalry civs or things like that, the French, Jean, the Rus maybe, it may serve, or if you're just under immense pressure in your base, it may serve to get textiles because it helps you keep those villagers alive. Also, obviously, get wheelbarrow so that your villagers move a little faster because this can help keep them alive as well.
Yeah, I think the wheelbarrow timing is fine right here.
But at the start of the game, you have a lot of competing priorities in a sense. You want to do a lot of things. You want to get like an economic lead. You probably want some units. There's many things that you want to do, right? You want to get a tech advantage, and you can't do every single one of these things.
Yeah, and the same thing we see here with the longbowmen. They're being cute, but they're just standing right next to the council hall. What you could do is you can just click on the council hall, right-click here, and they will group up here or like here, and they will start like now they're like randomly around it. They will start like making a formation instead, right?
Yeah, they will make their way over here instead. This barracks a little far out, right?
Yeah.
If the enemy had units right now, say horsemen, and they definitely could, it's already 8 minutes in, right?
Yep.
Your villages will be caught out, would die, and the town center would have a really tough time protecting them from all the way over here. Or archers or something, right? So you don't want to do this because what advantage does this give you? Yes, your units are a little closer here, but the disadvantage of like maybe losing your villagers and maybe losing village units that come out of this barracks, just not worth it right at the start.
I mean, if it's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes in, maybe you don't have space here anymore and you want to build it here, but you want to start like under your town center at the front. That's kind of why you want your production usually.
Yeah, or if you're trying to hide your production, like there's nuance to all of these tips, right? But it is a little that scout's gonna go down. Huh?
Yeah, and here we see the units that come out. We see hardened samurai, right? That's what they say. Oh yeah, you can see that as well. And hardened samurai are heavy melee infantry, as it says here. What does that mean? That if you are the English and you have longbowmen, they're not going to perform that well against these samurai.
I think it's better to look at it like this. Whenever there's a heavy unit, whether that's heavy cavalry or heavy melee, it implies the first of all that crossbows and the like will do extra damage.
Yep.
They do extra damage versus heavy. And secondly, it implies just that they have really good base range defense already. And that range defense is really what will cause your longbowmen to not be quite as efficiently. Like, we can take a look here. These do 6 damage.
Yeah.
Another 6 versus light melee infantry, so that's another 6 versus, say, spearmen for 12. But instead of doing 12, they will do 3 damage because there is 3 ranged armor. I think a lot of people know how that works, know the basis of it, but I think it's important to reiterate sometimes, especially for these lower level games.
The thing is, the English are going Castle Age right now with the White Tower, meaning that they will unlock the ability to get those crossbow. And I think that would be a good counter. Normally, if you play against the Japanese, as the English, they can already have the samurai in your base before you actually can go to Castle Age.
Yeah, you need to be very much aware of that. So that scout, losing that is going to hurt. Let's talk about the White Tower and its position, because this isn't much of a position at all. It's not guarding you any resources. Yes, it's at the front of your base, but if it's here, right, it's at least guarding stone and wood.
And the berries.
And the berries, right? Whereas here, it's not guarding much of anything, really. It's too far away for that mill.
Yep. You can see the range. That's too far away.
Right? Any units that would try and harass these villages would have a good time anyways. And
it's
yeah,
not
like,
totally blocking this whole part because you
it
can
gives
still
you
go
good
around.
vision and everything. I understand you're like, well, I'm just going to sort of place it in the middle of the front because I don't really want to commit to either side. But it doesn't really matter, right? Because they can still walk off to the right side. They can still go around to the left side.
Yeah.
It tries to do everything. I think like I'm trying to get into the mind of this player, right? Where they're like, I'm going to put it in the middle because...
they're trying to see if they can block the entrance in a sense.
And I think it is better to just commit to something here, right? Just tell yourself, you know what I want? You know what I need? You know what's really important to me right now?
Apparently,
the food or something.
The gold, because they're going to this big gold in here. And I think this would even been a better position here on the gold. It would be really dangerous
if you're able to do
here.
it, yeah.
It will be dangerous, don't get me wrong, to get it up here. But if it's up here, at least it will be defending something important for you.
Yeah, I don't think I will put it up there, but I think it is good to think about it. Like when you're placing that White Tower, like regardless of how good of a decision it is, right? It needs to be an informed decision. You need to be thinking, why am I placing the White Tower here? What is this achieving?
Yeah.
Right?
On the other side, I want to look at the Japanese player real quick. They're going to go up with the floating gates, which is pretty standard, I would say.
Yeah.
But another thing that I see coming off from this player is that there is a lot of arrow slits coming out. A lot of outposts with arrow slits. And what I feel like, the Japanese are in an advantage against the English with attacking because of those samurai, right?
In feudal, yeah, sure.
Right. That could have been already there. So what doesn't make sense for me is to have this many outposts so early in the game. Because I feel like you already have a good chance against it.
Okay, so the way that works, the way that matchup works, right, is that Japanese would love to go castle. English can fight in feudal. Yeah?
But not against the samurai.
It depends. It depends. Because they can come down here, yeah? And they can get those villagers off of the gold. Again, this outpost would not have prevented them from doing so. If they had brought their longbowmen and just made some longbowmen, it would not have prevented these villagers from working this gold. When they have no gold, they have no samurai.
Yeah, that's
when they have no samurai, they have no great counter unit. And you can just kite the samurai, which is a term meaning to walk back and then fire, and then walk back and then fire, right? That samurai, because like they're not exceptionally fast, they would go down eventually, especially against a large enough mass of longbowmen.
Yeah, another thing that I see is there is already a market up right here, meaning that they already had to make some adjustments in their balance of resources. I mean, I think it's a good thing that if you're really in trouble, you should plop a market down and fix it. But of course, it would be better if you don't have to fix it to begin with.
This I'm not quite understanding any of this. But I'm gonna try and get into their mindset again. This here is Vern thinking, well, I want to know if there's enemies coming from this side. Wall. Because this is not going to stop anything. Yeah, it might inform you in time.
But then you have to have that inside as well.
Yeah.
You need to actively be looking.
Put a wall from this side to this side. It's going to cost you about just as much wood. And you can re-wall it when like they make a gap in it. And it's not going to cost you nearly as much to replace an outpost. But I don't understand all of this, right? I don't understand the villages here. And this explains dangerous. Why, right? Like, why are these villages here? Is there a reason that they couldn't have been on this one or on this one? When those are still safe, right? They're still safe back in that base. You don't have any vision here. Of course they went down.
I feel
right?
Like
that was a choice made by Vern here. This same thing. Why is this villager mining over here when he could be nice and close to the town center?
Yeah, or at least on the other side of that patch, right?
Right?
And I feel like this gold, I think if I try to like...
Why was mining this so important?
Become this person, I think what they're trying to do is I think that what they think is like, oh, the gold that I have in my base is mine and this one isn't mine. So if I'm gonna get this, the enemy is not gonna get this, right? So I think that's what they're thinking. If I can get this early, then I prevent my enemy from going there.
It's just not worth it. It's not worth doing this because losing out on these villages, each of these villages,
especially early. Yeah. The earlier you lose out on villagers,
each villager, more or less, as a rule of thumb, gives you 40 resources per minute, more or less. It's not precise, but it's a good baseline figure. It depends on a lot of things. Like, obviously, these villagers need to walk quite a bit back and forth, so they really should be another lumber camp closer to where they're working. That should have been, the one that Vern paid for here. So each of these give you 40 resources a minute. Each one that you're losing is 40 resources a minute that you're losing. That's 40 in the first minute. That's 80 in the second minute. That's 120 in the third. It's a lot of resources that you're losing out by every villager, and they can't be as easily replaced as you would like, right? Especially without another town.
Look at how many villagers are queued in here.
I mean, it's fine if you have the it's fine if you have the food.
But look at the production. We do have like the council hall, and we do have the White Tower, and they could be producing things at the moment as well, right?
I know we're going a little hard on Vern here, but there's a lot to discuss, I think, about just the basics of base building. We're gonna see those knights just come over here and not be stopped because there is no wall, and they're gonna come into these farms,
which are not protected because the White Tower is in front instead of on the farm.
It's not just that, right? It's about the White Tower. It's about these farms not being placed next to the town center.
That too, yeah.
Right?
I know having walls around them.
The whole point of the farms is that you can build them anywhere, right?
Yep.
It's hard to go out into the map and get the deer or the boar or the berries, right? Like it's hard because like the enemy will try and stop that from happening. Yeah. So pushing out for food, difficult. Having food in your own base, having sheep underneath your town center, really nice.
Yep.
So put your farms next to your town center because this provides you a defensive advantage, especially as the English.
Yeah, because the English town center is shooting twice as many arrows than another town center would be shooting.
The whole point then is to use that like locational advantage of where you can put your farms to your advantage, right? To your personal advantage. Just place those over here, right? Place those as close to your TC as you can get them. Obviously, you want to make use of this bonus. Right?
Yeah, I get
so it's farm.
And I think that's the reason why they've actually put it there, because there were some berries before, and that first mill was already there because of the berries. And I feel like they really, really wanted to use that mill, and then they really wanted to make it look neat and nice, because we can see that with the with
it's just like
well.
they
really want to base build this perfectly, as in that it looks pleasing to the eye, right? Wait, why is that house looking different?
they can
some
be
of them do.
yeah. There's a little
Yeah, I was
variance
like,
of it, but it's like their line of thinking
Oh
is
my
like
god. What is that? That was...
their line of thinking is like, hey, don't want to lose that mill. I've got that mill, right?
Oh, there goes the relic.
Yeah.
Second relic
There's not
already.
enough spearmen, I think, here to make up for this, and there are quite a number of samurai, which you can expect when you're fighting the Japanese, which is why you need to get those crossbowmen.
Yeah, and we can see that like the longbowmen are no chance against
We'll
those.
talk about the composition again later, but we need to talk about this. We really need to talk about this. They're thinking, I've paid for this mill already. I don't want to waste it. It's 50 wood, right? Oh, boy.
Ooh, no, that's gonna be painful. Okay.
It's 50 wood that I paid. You paid 50 wood for this one. Why
Yep.
was this one worth it? Why was this one worth it? I don't
Yeah.
understand how you think like, no, I don't want to waste 50 wood on this. And then you're like, yeah, but I want 50 wood for this one.
Yeah.
For this one villager? Why?
Yeah, and I think here we can see the strategy this player is having by putting the Berkshire also in the front. Not really defending much. I mean, a little bit of that wood line, I would say.
So the
And,
Berkshire
like-
it obviously has a huge range, so it does cover that goal vein, but not to the extent that you would like it to be. I think it was a little
It
bit
does
of a
have the
panic
berries.
placement because, sorry, Verm was feeling a little overrun here.
Yeah, I think the berries are not that much of a priority right now for the English. Like, you have those farms, right? And the farms are really good for the English. And there's, you know, some extra upgrades.
I do appreciate that Vern is picking up a lot of research, but you do need to be aware that you want to prioritize research.
But, like, I feel like they want to pick up everything. Because look at the outposts. Like, the outposts are getting every upgrade as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah.
Everything
You don't
everything.
you don't need to
See, all the outposts have all the upgrades. And I feel like that's a bit much.
You don't need this. You don't need this. You want to prioritize. You need obviously certain outposts would do well to get that extra defense in, right? Like say you're constantly being harassed by cavalry, right? Obviously, first of all, that wall needs to come up.
Yep.
Yeah. But secondly, I know we're kind of talking in theoreticals, but it's more about FlowingThor is obviously also not a like a platinum player or something, right?
Yeah.
He's doing pretty well, I think, for himself, but it's still difficult, right? But somebody who's realized the weakness that you have here is just constantly gonna pour units into here. So you're gonna have the defense of the town center, right?
Yep.
Which allows 15 villagers to be inside.
Oh, there he goes. I was gonna say there's four.
The outpost, if you put one over here, would allow you
idols
for
now.
more villagers inside, and then you could defend those. And then it'd be
Yeah.
worth upgrading.
If you want to see more Age of Empires, make sure to click on one of these playlists. Make sure to subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Hype. That rhymes.